Good morning. We are reading The Wheel on the School by Maynard de Jong, pictures by Maurice Sendak. We are on chapter 4, which is called Jella and the Farmer. And we are reading part 2 of that chapter. It was 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. There was not a sound in Shora. Except for 3 small children playing in the village square at the foot of the tower, there wasn't a child. The 5 boys and Lena were scattered over the countryside looking for a wagon wheel. In the doorway of the school, the teacher looked down the empty road that stretched from the school into the flat country. This was the road along which Jella was searching for a wagon wheel. The road lay deserted. Jella was nowhere in sight. The teacher smiled a little to himself. Jella's really got his heart in it now, he softly told himself, and when Jella gets his heart into things, he's liable to hunt for a wheel into the next province. From over the school, high in the sky, 2 storks appeared. They winged away in rapid, flapping flight. The teacher stood looking after them. The children in the countryside would see those storks too. Just so they don't lose courage, the teacher told himself. When the teacher looked down the road again, it wasn't empty anymore. Far away, a wheel came rolling down the narrow country road. A boy was rolling it. He struggled it into an upright position whenever it fell and rolled it on. That must be Jella. Only Jella was strong and husky enough to wrestle a heavy wagon wheel down a road all by himself. Jella had a wheel. The teacher half turned as if to hurry into the school to ring the bell. Better wait, he told himself. You can't tell what Jella may do when he has his heart set on things. No, better wait. He looked down the road again. Now no wheel was rolling down the road. Instead, there was a farmer leading Jella to the school. The wheel was gone. The teacher waited in the doorway of the school. They came closer, the unwilling Jella and the big angry farmer. The farmer was leading Jella down the road by the lobe of his ear. He had something red in his other hand. It looked like a piece of red roof tile. The teacher waited. At last, after a long, painful march down the road, Jella was being guided by his ear across the schoolyard. Jella looked stubborn and guilty and angry all at the same time. He stared defiantly at his teacher as he neared the doorway, even though he had to hold his head carefully tilted against any painful jerks on his ear. The pinched earlobe really must be throbbing now. I didn't steal it, Jella said morosely as the farmer halted him before the teacher. He says I stole it, but I didn't. I yelled and called all over that farm, but there was nobody. And that wheel hadn't been used in ages. It was even sunk in the mud because it stood under the drip of the shed. It took all I had to get it loose, so long it had been standing there. And now he says I stole it. The farmer grimly let Jella talk. Now he faced the teacher. What goes on in this school of yours here anyway? He demanded. Teaching children to steal things from people. There I was, deeping in a ditch at the back of my farm. I poke my head out while I rest my back a minute, and there I see a wheel rolling down the road. I look at my shed, and my wagon wheel isn't in its place against the shed wall. It's my wheel rolling down a road. So I run and jump ditches and catch up with this boy, and I still can't believe it. In broad daylight. When I stopped at the shed, sure enough, my wheel was gone, and in its place, all there was this. He shoved a broken piece of red roof tile at the teacher. On the tile, Jella had scratched with a nail. I'm taking the wagon wheel to put on the roof of our school for storks to build a nest on. We want storks to come to Shora again. I'll bring it back as soon as the storks are through with it. Jella Sjarda. The teacher forced himself not to smile. The hot-eyed farmer was watching him every moment while he read. Well, the teacher said slowly, feeling his way, At least it isn't a downright thief who leaves a note and signs his name after he's taken something. And thieves hardly ever promise to return what they steal. So if we do teach them to steal at this school, you've got to admit we teach them to do it differently." He grinned good-naturedly at the man. "You can see Jella meant to return it." "Sure. I've got to wait for my wheel until storks lay eggs and make nests. And after the storks are through, I can use my own wheel again," the farmer said hatefully. "I need that wheel. I need my wagon only in spring and fall, but when I need it, I need it. In fact, I'd planned to put the wheel back on the wagon this afternoon. And there it went rolling down the road." The idea of his wheel rolling down the road made him furious all over again. The farmer kept a wrathful hold on Jella's ear. "If you would let go of his ear," the teacher said, "Jella won't run away, I promise you. I can maybe explain how Jella came to take the wheel without your permission. I'm not excusing it, understand, just explaining it. Because you look like a man who would understand. You look to me as if you were once a boy, just like Jella yourself. A boy who, once he sets his heart on something, stops at nothing. Didn't you, as a boy, sometimes take something when you couldn't get it any other way?" The farmer relaxed a little. He almost started grinning, but he made it a scowl. "Yeah," he said gruffly, "because I wanted a bow and arrows. All the kids had bows and arrows, all but me. How I suffered because I was the biggest of the whole lot. My mother wouldn't let me. She was afraid I'd somehow shoot myself. How, I don't know. I didn't even have a knife on account of my mother to make myself a bow and arrows. And here I was, the biggest kid, just as big and husky as this one." He looked at Jella appraisingly. "No, bigger. Well, I got the knife. Don't ask me how. Then I made the bow and arrows, and then I was happy. My grandfather caught me returning his knife. How he warmed my breeches. Well, he could have skinned me with a knife. I was still happy. I had my bow and arrows." "Well, there you see," the teacher said. "Now you've warmed Jella's ear, and Jella still doesn't have the wheel he wanted so badly." The man looked at the red, swollen ear. The teacher explained the school's great project of luring just 2 storks back to Shora, and the man listened. He nodded understandingly when the teacher finished. "I'll tell you," he began, but then he looked at Jella's ear again. "Better put a cold, wet rag against that ear, kid," he interrupted himself. "Yeah, I can understand now why he did it and all the excitement. But as I started to say, he can still have the wheel in about a week, as soon as I'm through with the wagon. He can have it till fall. After this week, I won't need the wagon again until fall. Not on my little farm." "That would be too late, wouldn't it?" Jella anxiously asked the teacher. "I counted at least 5 pairs of storks flying over this afternoon. They're starting to come so fast, there can't be a stork left in Africa among those rhinoceroses you were telling us about. In Africa, they live right among the lions and hippos and zebras," he eagerly explained to the farmer. "But here they live right in our villages with us." Then he said unhappily, "Except Shora, of course." "Yes, I'm afraid in a week it might be too late, Jella," the teacher said. He turned to the farmer. "Could Jella help you with your wagon work on your farm? It seems to me he owes you at least that for all the inconvenience he's caused you. And if he could help, it shouldn't take a week before you can let the school have the wheel." "It's a deal," the farmer said promptly. "I'll fix the wheel on the wagon as soon as I get back, and Jella can come and help me Monday, or even right now. It's up to him." Jella stood thoughtfully, feeling his throbbing ear. "Do you still know how to make arrows?" he carefully asked the farmer. "I've got a bow, but no arrows." "Oh, sure," the man said. "And there's plenty of alder bushes right along the ditch I was deepening at the back of my farm. If you want arrows, I'll show you how." He patted his pocket. "I've got a knife of my own now," he said with a grin. "I'll be there," Jella promised happily. "But maybe this afternoon I ought to look some more for a wagon wheel. The storks are coming over so fast." He looked at the teacher for approval. "Suit yourself," the farmer said. He strode off. Jella tenderly pulled at the lobe of his sore ear and looked meekly at the teacher. I didn't mean to steal it, he explained, but there was no one to ask, and there was the wheel. His voice trailed off. Guess I'd better look some more, he said lamely and walked away. Look, but don't take without asking, the teacher called after him. Just pinch your ear if you're tempted. They both laughed a little. Then Jella turned to go, and the teacher went back into the school. As Jella crossed the schoolyard, 4 storks flew high overhead. Now they're coming by 4s, Jella called to the teacher. Then he noticed that he was alone. He stared up at the storks again. Suddenly he shook his fist at them. Do we have to knock you down to get you to stop, Shora? His eyes fell on Elka's baby carriage in the corner of the schoolyard. The bow lay in the hay. If storks wouldn't stop, Shora, maybe he could make them stop, shoot them down with bow and arrow. That might be the way to do it. Not kill them, just bring them down, stuff them into the coop until there was a wheel up on the school. Then they'd have storks, Shora. He eyed the open door of the school. On tiptoe, he stole across the schoolyard to the corner where the baby carriage was and grabbed the bow. He ducked through a hedge and by a roundabout way, out of sight of the school windows, set off across the fields towards the farm with the wheel and the alder bushes for arrows.